Okay, where are these leaks at? I think something is here. Sounds like it's right here. My ears are playing hooky on me. It sounds like I'm hearing two leaks, and I'm not sure where they're at. I turn the water back on. That's odd. When I'm over here, it sounds like I'm over there, like it's leaking over there. When I'm over there, it sounds like it's leaking where I'm at. Good grief. Can you hear it? Let's get you in here. Maybe it's just out of bubble or something. Now it sounds like it's on this side. Not sure where it is. Here's a little line. Oh, it's that. It's the dripper. It's the dripper here. I thought it was a leak. See, it's shooting out like faster than it should be. Look at that. See there? It shouldn't be going that fast. That's what I was hearing. There's another bubbler like that somewhere else too. And I'm not sure if it's enough to worry about. It shouldn't really be coming that fast though. And I don't know if these have a little adjustment thing on them. But this thing is like 20 years old. 24 years old. Let's just see if I can twist it. Oh, yeah. Okay, let's see. I'm twisting it, but nothing's happening. Like, shouldn't it go slower, faster? Oh, you know what? I just made it go just a hair slower. I made it go a little slower, and it's next to this big, huge tree, so I think I'm gonna leave it alone. And it was on a little stand right there. Let me see. See that? That really wasn't doing anything, was it? And I don't really need that. When I see those, I like to save them. Okay, if they're not really being used much. Okay, all right, I got it. I got it going a little less, and it's next to that tree, so I think I'm going to leave it alone. Just seems like that's a lot of water though coming through here. And this is the 1/4 inch tubing. I would have to replace that because I don't like working with that 1/8 inch tubing. I'd like to fix it with 1/4 inch tubing. And the other thing is, look where it's coming. It's coming right around here, and it's been stretched a little bit from where this tree is. And I could, well, no, I don't know. I was gonna say I could replace it. I could move that a little bit so it's not as depressed, and I could take my pliers, see if I can lessen the bubbler, because it doesn't really need to be going that fast. Let's just see if I can take my pliers and tighten that a little bit. Those are only designed to be tightened so far, you know. And I was gonna say, and it could break. And son of a gun, it just snapped off. See there? Now I will have to fix it. We're gonna have to figure out what to do to fix that, because I want a proper bubbler on there. That's actually too much water for the whole entire bubbler system. Okay, well, since I'm in the throes of everything else, I might as well get it fixed, right? So I know it's coming. It's coming from over here. See? Coming over this way, and this is going to the main water line. And I'll have to see where it is. I don't want to be jerking on it. Probably tapped in. Oh, probably right down in here. Looks like there's some other lines going down there. The main, there should be a main pipe down here. And see, there's a main line right there. It should be covered up. But where on earth is it? At this point, you just have to keep digging to find out. I thought it would be quick and easy, but it looks like I'm going to have to do some more digging. At least the system shut off. Okay, it was only on for a few minutes. And see, you get roots from trees and stuff. If you've got if your system's 20 years old, 25 years old, you could get roots like this that push on this and that snap it off wherever it's coming from. You can have leaks that way too. Okay, so I'm gonna do a little bit more investigating and get right back to you. Class is now open. We got to figure out what to do with this. I dug this out, and that's the dripper that I'm gonna have to fix somehow, okay? I don't like using this small tubing. This was from years ago, and it zipsy doodles. Look, here it goes, and then it curves around, and it goes up to the pipe. Here's that pipe, and see there's two other lines that go off of it, and I wanted to see if there was anything else for this big huge birch tree other than this one bubbler. So I dug around here, followed those, and here's one that goes to nothing, and here's another one that goes to nothing. You see? And my guess is years ago there was probably a plant here. Maybe there was one over here and they died, and whoever, they tied a knot in it. See this knot? And they tied a knot in there rather than putting a plug on the end. And I'm going to turn the sprinklers system on in a little bit, but I can see where it's pretty damp along here. So this one is probably, I don't know if it's dripping or not. I think it might be just a hair, but not very much, because I can see it's wet there. And I'm probably going to end up leaving those alone. Okay, I'll probably end up leaving these two alone, and I can make a note of it so that if we ever want to put a plant here by this rock or something, that there's a dripper bubbler close by. One right here. And I dug up the bark, pushed it away from the tree, and I see that there's no other drippers. I'm gonna sit down here. There's no other drippers for this tree. Now see, this line happens to zipsy doodles around here, and it goes along that way, and see it's been raised because this root is here, this root's here. If I wanted to, down the road, to get this below, I could cut this off, right? Dig the dirt underneath here, dig it underneath there, underneath there, underneath there. Dig this line, add a little section of pipe, extend it underneath the roots, underneath the roots, underneath the roots, put another coupling. Well, if I extended it, I'd have two more couplings, right? I'd have two more couplings. Or I'd have to take it off from that coupling, and then I would only need one. I got to be careful with this because the dripper is underneath here. Those snap off. See, those snap off. Then it's hard to fix. You can't just put a plug in there. You have to cut it off and put in another coupler. Okay, so back to my immediate concern, my immediate fix. I'm not going to leave this one here, but I'm not going to, I can't cap it off right there, okay, because first off, I don't have any plugs that are 1/8 inch or 3/16 or whatever. Secondly, if I try to pull that out, chances are I could snap it off, and that little piece is going to be in there, and I'm not going to be able to do anything with that, right? Unless I cut that out. I don't want to do that. So see this piece here that comes up here, I can tie a knot in it, kind of like these other ones. Couldn't I tie a knot in it like that? I could. Or I could take the end and go like that, and then take a little piece of wire and wrap around and wrap and wrap and wrap, and then take my pair of pliers and twist it, and do two of those if I want. And that's my cap. And that's what I think I'm going to do on this pipe, because this thing is hard and brittle. It's not as flexible as when they tied those knots in there. I don't think I want to do the knot business. I think I want to just cap it off. You know, I'll cut this end off, and then I'll just fold this over. I'll fold it over like that, and take a little piece of wire. I just happen to have a little piece of wire in the garage, and I'll show you what that looks like when I get done. And I'm going to leave this one here and leave it underneath the ground, okay? And I'm not even going to tap into that, to that pipe there, because I'm gonna go up on the uphill side of this pipe. Now these two are tied together. This probably comes around and loops around somehow, and then goes up that way, comes back down, loops back that way, goes on down further. Okay, so I can come up here, can I? And I can tap in right here. Why not? And have you ever seen how sometimes they take a bubbler? I've seen it. They've taken a bubbler and they poke that and they push the bubbler right in there and leave it, and not even hook it to any pipe. Or I've also seen it where they've taken a bubbler and put it right there, and then they have the little 1/4-inch tubing, and then they run the tubing over to your plant. I don't like doing it that way, because then if a pincher bug or anything comes inside that 1/4-inch tubing, they could clog that up, right? More easily than the bubbler being clogged up, because the bubbler has a smaller hole. But I've seen it done that way too. So 3 different ways, you know, I can attach this. And that's the beauty. When you're doing things on your own, you get to decide how you're going to do it. And so I think, for me, I mean, because this is up high, I could just put the bubbler and poke it right there, because when I put the bark back, I don't have to necessarily cover up the bubbler, because this is up higher. And if we ever run more bark, if we cover up the bubbler, it's okay if you have the bubbler underneath the bark to a certain extent. Or I can attach a coupling on here, and then a little piece of pipe, and just leave the bubbler up. Maybe I should do it that way, just to be on the safe side. That way, if we do add more bark, I've got that bubbler up higher, and then I can raise the bubbler on the little pipe, on the 1/4-inch tube, and I think I'll do it that way. And then I can put bark over right here, and then just pooch the bubbler right here above the bark, right here in the corner, and let it drip down, because I like to try to keep it on the uphill side, and then let the water flow. You know, I mean, either way, there's plenty of water, even if you have it on the downhill side, for all of these roots, because this root's coming over and it's getting water off of this bush. This root is coming over towards this way, getting water off of that bush. So does it really matter? Probably not. But I'm not going to tap into that bottom one, because it's way on the downhill side. I'm just going to do it up here. Okay? And I'll show you what that looks like when I get done. And I'm going to I'll cap this other pipe off over here. And I might make a quick video of that too. You never know. Just stick around, because the more you watch, the more you learn. Okay. Let's just trying to do it over here. And let's do this first. Okay. Let's see. Yeah, you can see that. I'm just going to cut that end off. And I can use that maybe in a pinch for something else. Oh, that's the one that broke off. That's no good. That's the one that broke off, so that's toast. Okay. Now to cap that off. If I had an 1/8-inch plug, I could cap it off that way, but I don't, and I'm not going to go to the store and buy one. I'm going to take a little piece of wire, and I happen to have it off of who knows what. Okay, and it's copper wire, so it should it should stay on there fine and not rust or anything like that. Okay, let's just pinch it. Let's just pinch it on there a little bit better. Like that. Can you see that once I have this connected, it should not leak. And so I'm going to take that and just twist it on there. Like that. And like that. Okay. Twist it enough so it's snug, but don't twist it off so much that it's going to break on you. Right? And I'm going to end up doing that again. I'm going to do another one because I can. If you use baling wire, any kind of wire, it's going to rust and eventually it's probably going to snap off. But I have full confidence that this is not going to come off anytime soon in my lifetime. A couple twizzles in here with my pliers. And that's, I'm going to call that good. I don't even have to cut the ends off if I don't want, but I'm going to. Right. There. Now, you see, that is not going to leak, and I can just leave it. I could just leave it up here, and I'll move this bark away, and I'll put it underneath the bark, and there it's just going to live. If it ever were to drip, it's going to drip right here by the tree, and that's it. I'm not going to do anything yet until I put in a bubbler. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put a bubbler on this side with a little extension piece of 1/4-inch tubing, and because there's no other water coming to this big huge birch tree, I'm going to find a 2-gallon-per-hour bubbler, and I'll show you all that and how to attach that next. Now here's another way you could fix that. Like if you're at the end of your main drip irrigation and you want to cap it off, you could use something like that. You see? And you fold it over. You first put this on there, and then you fold it over and put the other end on that, and then that would hold this tight. I don't know if they have any for 1/8-inch tubing, but I just happen to have one of those for the main drip pipe. And you could do that, or they have ends for the main drippers pipes. You know, the main drip pipe for your entire sprinkler system. They got it 3/4, 1/2-inch, and 5/8. So make sure you know what yours is. If you ever have to make a repair by installing one of those couplings, make sure the old piece that you cut off a little bit, enough to where you can take that with you or measure it with your tape measure, take it with you to the store. Make sure you get the right coupler and the right size fittings, okay? All right, onward, Joe. Let's get this drip bubbler installed. Class is now open. All right, let's get this dripper installed here. And is there a rhyme and reason of exactly where I'm gonna poke this? Because you remember, I'm gonna install a 1/4-inch tubing off of here. I've got a little coupling for that, and I'm gonna install it into here. how am I going to do that? Let's get these bubblers out of the way. I'll talk about that in a minute. If I didn't have this tool right here, I couldn't do my project. This dimples and cuts a little hole in there so that I can put this in. And they have these at the hardware store, you know, for the drip irrigation. And sometimes you can get this with some little caps, plugs, and you buy it as a set. Or you can just buy this separately. It's $4 or $5. Okay, I just happen to have a little piece, and look at that. It's the right length that I need. I might cut that off a little bit. We'll do that in a minute. Okay. So I don't want to put it on the top in case somebody wants to step on it later. Perfect thing for me is on the side here, and I'll put it close to the big root in case somebody happens to step their foot over here. I don't think they will. I'm not really too concerned about it. So I'm going to lift this up, and I'm just going to hang on to this and push this in all the way. Just wiggle it a little bit. And sometimes on new pipes, you'll hear it snap. Like click, and you know you've got it in there far enough. I've got it. Okay? All right. Now I'm going to put that in. But before I do that, oh man, I need my pliers. Sometimes brand new pipe, and if you're doing it in the summer, you should be able to do all this without using your pliers or anything. Now I could just take my pliers and poke that in right now, but before I do that, I like to just put the end on first. And you just twist it on there, back and forth, make sure it's on all the way. Now, I could push this in, but this stuff is this pipe here is 24 years old, and it's been out in the sun and the cold. It should be covered up, so when I put the bark back in, I'll put it over that. I'm going to hang on to that and use my pliers to get it in there. Okay. And like I say, sometimes you'll hear it snap. There it goes. See, you got to play with it a little bit until you hear it or feel it snap. Because if you don't snap it in there, you might think you have it in there, but you don't. Okay? So now, simply put the bubbler on there. And like I say, I'm going to make the determination. I'm going to cut this off a little shorter. I'm going to put the bubbler right about there. Okay? I'm just going to do that. And that was an extra little piece I had. Don't throw away your little ones. Now, I told you I'd do a 2-gallon bubbler. I want to tell you, when you open your containers, make sure you open them so you can still read what they say. And I've got some bubblers here. I just ripped the thing off. The bubblers here ripped the thing off. I'm pretty sure these are 1 gallon per hour, because this one I ripped off just the side. That's 1 gallon per hour. GPH is gallons per hour. Pressure compensating drippers. And I look at these, and these are all black. These are all black. And the 2 gallon I got at the same store. These are green, and that's 2 gallon per hour. And they have some red ones, and those were 1/2 gallon per hour. But different stores, their colors might be different. Okay, so before I open this, I'm gonna make sure I don't rip off the 2 gallon per hour, in case I need to remember that. Okay. So now I'm simply, once I get the bag open, I'm going to just put one of these on there. And this is a 10 pack, and it's kind of how they come. You buy them like that. Okay, now I'm going to leave all those in there. I'm gonna take that, that's got that little end on it, and I'm gonna just twist it on there. Make sure I get it all the way on there. Like that. That's it. That's what I'm gonna do. And then when I do the bark back in here, I'm gonna lift this. I'm gonna cover this up with bark to about here. I'm gonna let this end pooch up above the bark, and it's just gonna be right up in here. Okay, that's all. That's all I'm gonna do. But before I do that, if you want to check all your work, you can turn the system back on. That's what I'm gonna do. I've fixed this one, this thing over here. I've added this, and I might look at a couple other things that I've done some repairs on too. So I'll be right back with the water on. Okay, I've turned the water back on. Let's take a look at this together. I have not seen the end of this yet. Let's see how much a 2-gallon dripper puts out. Okay, that's a 2-gallon per hour dripper right there. And that's gonna be plenty, right like that. Okay, that's a more stout flow than I thought. With a 1 gallon, that's a 2-gallon. Okay, that'll be plenty for this tree. Okay, and our fitting looks fine here. Nothing. Oh, it looks like it's just barely, I say barely, dripping out of there, because it's an older line. And see here, this one is in fact working. That's from another one. I'm not gonna look at that. Now let's look at. I wanted to look at these fittings down here, how they attached it before, and see it's still dripping out of that knot. And this one, you can see the end is kind of wet. And that's okay. And let's just take a look at the end of this and see how well this is holding. It's just barely, I mean barely dripping, but that's how lots of landscapers do the ends of their pipes, and I don't really care about that because it's up here by the tree. And see these fittings, this one's a little wet, this one's a little wet, and that's just how they are years later down the road. It's not, you know, if you're careful with these when you're digging them up, you don't snap them off, they should be fine. I don't really care if there's a little dripping there. You see what I mean? And now I can cover all this stuff up and make a mental note of where these extra lines are. And I'm glad I put this extra piece on there. Now, like I said, I could have put that bubbler just right there. And lots of times I see landscapers do that around trees. They might have boom, boom. Put 2-gallon drippers or 1-gallon drippers. Boom, boom, boom. And they can put 3 if they want, or 3 gallons. You see what I mean? I mean, landscapers do all kinds of stuff. And you are the landscaper now. You make your own repairs. You decide how you want to do it all. Now, I made some repairs over here from before. This one's not dripping now. This one's not dripping. That's not dripping. This water was from where it was leaking from before, and the ground was so saturated that anything in there just weeped down. That's why there's water down in there. And I wasn't sure. I kind of thought this was a 2-gallon bubbler. I wasn't sure if that's how much water a 2-gallon bubbler should go. And sure enough, that's about how much water that other one is going that I just put in. So I've got to decide what to do with this one because it's just right out in the middle of no man's land. And I could either put a plug in it, because I have some little 1/4-inch plugs. I could pull this off and put a plug right there, cut it off, and then put this underneath the ground, or I can see where that goes, see if I can reroute this up underneath the bush. If I wanted, I could look at this rose bush here to see if it's got water, and I see there's a little dripper here. See, that's giving that water, and there's probably one under here. My thinking is this particular one right here was probably going to a plant here that died off, so I think I'd be safe to put a cap on there, and I could do that. You can dig up all your stuff if you want. If you've never done this before, you can look at all your plants, you can look at all your bubblers and check out where your bubblers are going, which ones are working, which ones are not working, which plants have them, which plants don't have them, which ones need to be relocated, which ones need to be plugged, capped, repaired. And trust me, every single drip irrigation system I've ever looked at, I haven't looked at that many, but every single one, I've always found something that needed to be done. Now see this one here? Here's a flag dripper. That's what they used to have years ago. Rather than the bubblers, it's a flag. And it's just going out here to nothing. And there was probably something here. Probably if I were to turn that, these flags are designed to be turned. And should I even try to turn it for fear something's going to happen to it? You should be able to turn it, and you should be able to get it off. Now see, nothing's really happening because it's so old. That part's probably not working. So I could take that, cut that off, and put a plug right there. If I knew that this plant didn't need any water, that plant didn't need any water. Here's one that's been snapped off from before that somebody replaced, and this end is broken off. Okay, that's a throwaway. That was years ago when they used to use 1/8 inch or 3/16 tubing. Nowadays they use the 1/4 inch tubing. Okay, and so I'm going to throw that one off. See, here's a bubbler. Remember I was saying sometimes I'll put a bubbler right on the end without a tube? Well, here's one right here. See there? That's a 2-gallon bubbler, and it's going to nothing because here, this one's going up to the backside of this big, huge redwood tree, and that's a 2-gallon bubbler. See there? That's a 2-gallon bubbler. And that's coming off of that line over there. And there's probably another bubbler somewhere, and maybe, I mean, that's close enough to that. If there was no other water to this tree, I would leave that. But if there's another line to there, see here? Now they've ran a little extension piece off of it with the 2-gallon bubbler. So there's one for the downhill side of that tree. There's one on the uphill side, and this one is going to nothing. So I could leave that, boom, 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 for that big tree, or I could pop that out and put a plug there if I wanted. All kinds of different things you can do with your drip irrigation. You just need to start looking around. Here I noticed this other pipe in the landscapers. Funny, they put this thing in there. See that? Oh, how cute. They didn't have to do that. That thing costs probably 2 or 3 times more than one little bubbler. They could have got by with just a 1-gallon dripper, same type that I put in the 2-gallon, except it's a 1-gallon. But they probably didn't have one with them. They thought, let's just put that in there. That makes no sense to me, needing to do that. So I could, if I wanted, if I had a flower pot or something that I needed something like that, I could take that one out and I could put a 1 gallon bubbler there, and I can save that for something else, right? Let's see, all different types of things. You only know enough if you start looking around at your drip irrigation pipes. Okay, for now, I'm going to decide to leave that alone, I think. But see, if you're on a water meter and you're paying so much per gallon of water, or if you're on a well water, why waste water? I'm calling these. This one's kind of wasteful. That one's kind of wasteful. The water just turned off too. When I put it in test mode, it's good for 10 minutes. But anyways, that's wasting water. That's wasting water. And when it's going to nothing, if you have too many of those on your system and they're not going to anything, then you get a little bit less water pressure down the line, so to speak. If I were to cap these off, maybe the other ones work better, or maybe I'm still saving a little bit of water, even though there's still water going to the entire system. You know what I mean? So, all in all, I like to double check. I like to double check everything. I know I should fix that one over there. And you see this? I'm just noticing this. There's water. There's all kinds of water right here. And maybe I should turn the system back on. I'm seeing there's one dripper here, and there's something else coming over here. But this could be another water leak, you know, down below the ground, because it shouldn't be this saturated with only having the water on for a few minutes. So that's something I could look at and see. That water, I can tell it goes on over to there. This is all waterlogged. Okay, so you can just see stuff like that. And like I say, the drip irrigation pipe should be covered. And sometimes they put it right on the top edge and then they cover it with bark. But I like to dig it under, you know, 3 or 4 inches, and then do the bark. Now see over here, this is really saturated. So what does that tell me? That tells me in this one little area right here, there's another area underneath there that's broken. Okay, that's just spewing water, kind of like these other repairs that I've done. Okay, but I've done enough for today. I feel pretty good with all the different things I've done over in here. I've got this main one fixed. Oh, I'm gonna still cap this one off, but I'm glad I dug that out and got that fixed. I found out the leak there. Got that fixed. Put a new bubbler there. Capped that one off. Cap that off. And I'm going to cap off another one. So, see, all kinds of stuff you can do on your own. All the time that I'm spending out here, that I'm working, I'm saving money. Okay? If I spend 5 hours out here, and if somebody charges $50 an hour, that's $250. I just saved my mother. I just saved myself if this was my property. You know what I mean? And so that's how you got to just start looking at things. You know, the more things you save, the more money you make, per se. And then you've got a little bit of extra money to start buying some tools, some parts, and stuff like that. These tools I can use again and again and again and again. So I'm investing in myself, and every time I do something on my own to save money. Don't pay someone else when you can do it yourself. Alright? So of course, I am not done until I get everything pushed back where it needs to go. I pushed the bark back before I dug. I pushed the bark back before I dug, so now I'm going to have to backfill everything. I can throw away all the roots and all the branches that I cut off, rearrange all the bark and do all that kind of stuff. Rearrange the bark up here and do all that kind of stuff before I call it good. Don't forget to do it as well. Okay, I'm going to cap this off. The proper way is to use a little plug. I've got some here. You can get all kinds of parts at any hardware store. I'm going to cut it just a little bit long because I don't want to affect the end of this 2-inch bubbler. You get too close, you could snap that off and then you won't be able to use the bubbler again. Okay, I'm just going to straighten it up like that. I'm going to take one of these and just twist it off of there. Okay, that's all it is. It's a little plug. And I'm going to twist it on there or wiggle it back and forth like that and push it on. There. That's all I got to do. I'm going to save this 2-inch bubbler. I know it's good. And in fact, I've got to replace a bubbler underneath another bush, so I'm going to use this one. And to take that little piece off, hang on, I'll get my pliers. Grab my pliers here, and I just kind of press on the outside of it a little bit and see if I can't rip it off of there like that. Okay, now I can use this bubbler. I know this bubbler works just fine. Okay, and I'm going to put that underneath another bush, and this, I don't want to leave it up like that. I wasn't really prepared for this, was I? I'm just gonna put this underneath. See, the ground is so saturated because this just keeps dripping right here. Now it's plugged off. And now I'm just gonna gently push that down in there like that. Okay? And cover it up. Bye-bye. And I can make myself a mental note where it is, write it down so I don't forget exactly where it is in case we want to put another plant out here. Because that bubbler used to go to another plant that was right in here that died somehow. Maybe it died because it was getting too much water. 2-inch bubbler right there. Okay. Fixed. That's all I'm doing. That's all I'm doing for that. How hard was that? You can do that yourself. I know you can. Don't pay somebody else to do something you can do yourself, especially if it's going to save you some money. Here's a little quick tip for you. See this pipe here? They put a 90-degree elbow on there. I'm not sure why they did that. The only reason I can think of is they ran out of little couplings. Here's a coupling, and you can buy these. I've got probably 50 of them. But the 1/4-inch barbed elbows like this come 10 in a pack, and I think the couplings come 50 in a pack. I've got a few of those, but every once in a while I need one, so I don't really need this here. So let's just cut it off. Okay. And to get this off, I try to cut it beyond and then just try to take my pliers and pinch this and try to kind of tear it off. And sometimes they come off, and other times I just might have to pinch it a couple times. Come on. There it comes. Oh. Because I'm trying to save that little piece, see? And this one I could cut it I could cut a little shorter, but I don't want to cut it too short to cut the tip off. It's almost there. I can see it. Okay. There. See? Just rip it off like that. And I'm going to save that for something else. Maybe someday I'm going to get to a point where the only thing I need is an elbow, you know? That's kind of a funky one too. But now I'm just gonna put this coupling on here. Wiggle it back and forth. Okay, like that. There. You don't need to put an elbow in the middle of the line like that. And see, the sprinkler guys, or the landscapers, the gardeners, they tried to fix that once upon a time. And like I say, the bark should be covering up all this stuff. So I'm probably going to have to go around and, you know, dig this down a little bit wherever I have to, and push it down, and then put some bark back over it. And she really needs to have more bark. And my brother and I, we put down a ton of bark in here, and just over time, with the gardeners coming, and they blow across here, and eventually it just trickles on down and goes down further and further and further, and all of a sudden it's like, what happened to all the bark? And I can go back around where it's ran down the hill, down on the back side of where the garbage cans are, rake that back up. I got this big old bucket, I can fill that up and kind of dribble some around different areas if I want. My mother was asking me to do that last time I was here. In the front yard, there's a couple bare spots. I can take a rake and rake it up against the wall and back around. And it just seems like eventually you run out of bark. But, you know, all of these lines should really be covered up with bark. And if you don't have a whole lot of bark, what I can do is maybe take a hammer, the claw part, and kind of dig it down into the dirt a little bit, put this down underneath the dirt, and then cover it up with dirt, and then spread the little bit of bark that I have around there. I'll just have to do that another time, but there's something you can do. Spread the bark away before you dig the little trench, and then spread the bark after you get the dirt back on there. A little bit of time and effort in your garden will certainly make a difference. See all these bare spots? Here's a bare spot up there, over there, right there, up around there, up at the top, right around here, up along the side. And you just, you know, your efforts go a long way, and it gives you some exercise, gives you something to do, and you'll feel good about it when you're done. All right, that's all I wanted to share with you on this video clip. See you next time. I got things pretty much wrapped up. Got this all covered back and stuff. Got this all respread. Almost looks like I wasn't even here. And that's the point. That's what you need to do when you're done with something. When you say you're done, then you know, and people will know it's done, because you went the extra mile and did it right.